Something I think is kind of strange is how, universal Kirby is as a character. For those who don't know, Kirby has had many different games over the years. They've had his obviously main platforming games, you've had racing games, you've had spin-off games like Pinball. But surprisingly enough, this is where it surprises me, Kirby has never reached the same levels as a character like, say, Mario or Link. Even though Kirby is arguably a lot closer to Mario than characters like Link are, because obviously, think about it, Mario's a universal character. You can put Mario in basically any situation, and he can work it out, and it will work fine for him. And Kirby does feel like that sort of character as well. Zelda and Link and the Pokemon characters as well don't have that, which is kind of weird. Why Kirby is seen as a secondary franchise for Nintendo? Now that is largely due to sales numbers. Kirby games don't sell as widely successfully as, say, Mario games or Zelda games or Pokemon games. But it's something we've got to think about, because with Kirby, you can actually do quite a lot with the character, He, as a character, first of all, you can obviously have him do the racing games where he rides his giant star. You've got his games like Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, where obviously he's got a sword and he's obviously doing all these adventure sort of levels across the 2D platforming stage. You've got, obviously, the ability of, like, for example, in, I think it's called Kirby Planet Robot, where you have, obviously, him controlling a giant mech suit, Kirby also has the ability to swallow enemies in certain games. I'm not sure if he does it in every game, but I know in quite a few of his games he had that ability. He can also fly or at least float. And he also has the strange ability, and this is where it gets strange to me. He's also just kind of an adorable character. Like, he's just sort of a character which I think a lot of people can see in, obviously, in a gameplay situation. Think, oh, that's adorable. And then you actually play the game, and it's like, he is not adorable. He is obviously a lot more, powerful than you'd first think by looking at him. But the ability for him to shapeshift, the ability for him to have, obviously, these, like, this mech, and, the ability to swallow enemies and spit enemies out as projectiles, the ability to be put in basically any situation and it basically work. For example, they had a whole pinball game for him at one point, which just says, they had, like, a tilt and tumble game where you had, like, to rotate your Game Boy to get, Kirby to move through the levels, which is kind of insane that they had that on the Game Boy. There's a lot you can really do with Kirby as a character. And to me, it feels like he's criminally underrated, because why? The games don't sell that much. They don't put out as many games for Kirby as they do other franchises. I believe the Switch generation, they put out like 6 Kirby games in total, which for a secondary franchise for Nintendo, that's quite good. Fire Emblem, for example, only got 5 games. But, it is what it is. Like, I feel like if they put more backing behind Kirby, you could do quite well. Because Kirby's also had stuff like animes. He's had, obviously, appearances outside of the media of, obviously, video games. Obviously, he has his old anime right back at you. I also believe he's had manga. I'm not entirely sure about that, but I believe he's had manga. It's clear that Kirby has an appeal to an audience. It's just, I feel like a lot of the problem with him being underrated comes from, obviously, his transition to the West. Now, with the West, obviously, if you look at the box arts in America, for example, for Kirby, he seems to always be angry. Like, they seem to try and make him always angry in the American box arts for the games, which, in the European ones, for example, and the Japanese ones especially, he's not always as angry. And I think that's because they're trying to make him seem like he's cool, Kirby's cool. When with Kirby, all you really got to do is make him sort of the playful sort of character. He's the one that's basically, he comes out, he does his mission, he does his task, he gets what he does what he does, and he wins the day. And I feel like for a lot of people, he can reach the level of icon status as Mario. For example, he is already in Smash Bros. He already has, obviously, an anime. He already is on the way to getting there. He's on the way to getting there for a lot of people. It's just Nintendo needs to sort of have a bit more faith in them. But also, it kind of comes down to whether or not, they can keep the appeal of the character. Because Kirby has a fan base. So that's very clear. But also, the fan base is not as large as something like Mario. That is why, obviously, he's so underrated. Like, the games sell well. They just don't sell as well as, obviously, other Nintendo franchises. But let's be honest, no Nintendo franchise will sell as well as Mario, Zelda, or Pokemon. They're like the big 3. Nothing will ever sell them. So Kirby being at the secondary level of being a secondary franchise, it's kind of the best they're gonna get for him, to be honest. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. Do you agree that Kirby is underrated? Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. If you're new, make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. And I will say at the end of this video, my favourite Kirby game It's Kirby's Dream Buffet. It's one that I bought on the Switch eShop. I played it with my little cousin, and we were just having so much fun with that game. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about Kirby in the comments down below. Do you think he's underrated? Let me know what you think. I've been EC, and I'm signing out. Peace.